Hello, welcome to today's session. In this session, we are going to see the differences between the array and the linked list. To begin with the difference, first of all, I would like to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the linked list. What are the advantages of linked list? What are the advantages of linked list? The very first advantage of linked list is that it is dynamic in nature. It is dynamic in nature. So you can insert and delete element as and when required. Size is not the issue. After that, we have to after that insertion and deletion is easy. Insertion and deletion, insert and deletion can be implemented easily. The third advantage of linked list is that stack and queues are also implemented. Efficient memory allocation and utilization. So that was one side of the story. Furthermore, disadvantages. The very first disadvantage of the linked list is that memory get wasted. Memory get wasted. So now why memory get wasted? Because every time you either create a node or every time you want to insert, delete or whatever operation you want to perform, you have to create a pointer which consumes memory. After that, the limitation is that no element, no element can be accessed randomly. No element can be accessed randomly. And the last disadvantage is reverse traversing become difficult. Although we have some other options in linked list, such as doubly linked list, so you can overcome that. But in single linked list, you are not able to do so. So these are some disadvantages of the linked list. Now moving on to the difference between the array and linked list. So the main and basic difference between array and linked list is that linked list is dynamic in nature and array is static allocation of memory. Also, array is the contiguous blocks of elements. So whenever you allocate memory, the memory allocates in the series. But in linked list, it is not fixed. It depends. Now let's move on to the differences between array and linked list in terms of time complexities. So I'll first write the time complexity of array and then I'll write the time complexities of linked list. The very first difference between array and linked list in terms of time complexity is that cost of accessing element in array is big O one. This is because you can access element randomly in array because these are contiguous block of element. The second difference is the cost of insertion and deletion at beginning of the array. The cost of insertion and deletion at the beginning of the array is big of n. This is because in that case you have to shift the rest of the elements. So that is why it is big O of n. The third difference is simply the cost of insertion and deletion. I'm writing I slash D as the abbreviation to insertion and deletion. Insertion and deletion at the end of the array will cost big O of, it will cost big O of 1, because in this case no extra iterations are required in order to shift the element, because the element is going to be placed at the end of the array. Now the next difference is in terms of insertion and deletion. In insertion and deletion at nth position, so it will again cost to big O of n. Now this big O of n is again justifiable because at the beginning of the array you have to shift the element, at the nth position as well you have to shift the rest of the element starting from n plus 1. If you want to put the element at nth position, then you have to shift the elements from n plus 1th position onwards. Now linked list. Now linked list. The cost of insertion, and deletion, the cost of now linked list. Cost of accessing, element in linked list is big O of n. The cost of accessing the element is big O of n. Then insertion and deletion at the beginning of list will cost big O of 1, because in this case it is very short operation. Insertion, the cost of insertion and deletion at the end of list is big O of n, and insertion and deletion at the nth position, will cost big O of n. As you can see, there are two scenarios in array where the time complexity is constant, and on the other hand, you can see there is only one scenario in linked list where the insertion and deletion at the beginning of the list will cost big O of 1. Apart from that, all the operation will cost big O of n. Thus, you can say array excels everybody in accessing the element and inserting and deleting at the end. This is all about today's session. See you in the next session.